To have passion in life is everything.
What's your Everest?
Oh,
Is it
yeah.
that 200-inch buck?
They just look so impressive when they're wide.
Especially running away.
Welcome to this week's episode of Eastmans Elevated.
It's like a think tank for outdoor activity.
Sounds exactly like my hunting. Just always thinking about it, always trying to evolve it and make it better.
Here's your host, Brian Barney.
Hey, what's happening, guys? Got a brand new Eastmans Elevated for you. So on today's show, I have on Baker Leavitt. So Baker's a friend of Eastman's, and we traveled over to the Eastman's office at the same time, and so I got a chance to meet Baker face-to-face, and the guy's one of a kind. Guy is so entertaining, you know. He's just fun to be around, whether he's on the podcast or whether we're out to dinner. The guy's got so many sayings, which I've been repeating since we hung out at the Eastman's office. He had this one that just cracked me up. He has a bunch of them, and you'll hear him come out in the podcast. But he had this one where he said he was describing somebody. He said, "Yeah, that guy would climb a tree to tell you a lie rather than stand on the ground and tell you the truth." It's just so funny. I had never heard that. But he's got a bunch of them. He's from the South. But he loves Western hunting, loves to hunt elk, which we talk about a bunch, archery, hunting elk, and it's just so humble and such a great storyteller. He's just the perfect guest for the podcast. So excited to have him on and release it to you guys so you guys can meet Baker as well. So we'll get right into it. I just want to thank a couple of my sponsors. I want to thank Swagger Bipods. So Swagger builds these bipods that'll mount to your rifle, and you guys have heard me talk about them before, but being accurate with a rifle is all about your rest, and Swagger builds the best ones in the industry. They have a bunch of different models, including their Hunter series, and then they have their Stalker quick disconnect that's 42 inches, and they also have a quick disconnect that's 72 inches. So basically you mount the plate on your rifle, which I have on mine, and then you carry the sticks, and then you can hook them up whenever you're getting ready for a shot. The 42 is great. My daughters have used it a bunch. My dad's used it a bunch. But that 72 would be pretty cool for standing shots. Like, it seems like there's always grass in the way and things when you're trying to shoot. And so, you know, of course, the most accurate is a prone shooting position, then a sitting, then a standing. And that 72 would allow you to make some good shots standing. So pretty cool deal there. They also have shooting sticks. I mean, everything's spring tension loaded, so you can swivel as you're on the tripod to track your target or if that deer or elk is moving. And also you can split the legs apart and get different heights for uneven terrain. And so you can build the best shooting position in the worst terrain. So you guys, if you're in the market for some new shooting sticks or a new bipod, make sure to check out Swagger. I also want to thank Mountain Archery Fest. MAF is putting on multiple shoots this season, and there's no better practice for a bow hunter than shooting a 3D shoot on the mountain. Mountain Archery Fest, they've done a good job of putting this event together, as they have a whole weekend full of events with pub night, movie night, multiple different courses at different skill levels. They have a competition phase to it, and they also have the Pope and Young record replica series where they do 28 Pope and Young records, and they have a foam replica of it, and they set it up in the exact shot that the hunter took when he took this animal, and they have a little plaque by it, and it's just a ton of fun and great practice for the season. And so they're putting on 4 events this year. Their first event will be in Durango, Colorado, June 11th through June 13th. Eagle Point, Beaver, Utah, 25th through the 27th of June. Lookout Pass, July 9th through 11th. And then at Snow Basin in Huntsville, Utah, July 23rd through 25th. So I'm going to make that one at Snow Basin. I'm going to meet the Eastmans there and shoot that course, so should be a great tune-up before season. Super excited for it. They just put on a great event, and it's the best practice you can get before hunting season. So make sure to get signed up. We have a promo code here at Eastmans. So at checkout, just put in Elevated21 and receive 20% off at checkout. So thanks to Mountain Archery Fest for their support of the podcast. All right, make sure to check out everything we have going on over there at Eastmans, Eastmans Hunting TV, Beyond the Grid, Tag Hub. Eastman's Flycast, and we sure appreciate the support. So with that, man, just getting my bear season started here, starting to get to the woods. They're starting to green up, so super excited for that. And then just awaiting these tag draws. So far, I've blanked across the West, but I have a handful of general season tags, so I'll be hunting somewhere no matter what, but sure hoping I pull one of these good ones somewhere. So excited to see these draw results come out, and excited to get rolling on some bear season here and see if I can earn some stocks on some big Bruins. But yeah, it's super fun. Spring's cutting loose, and nice weather, and just putting that training in and getting ready for fall as well. Great training runs lately, great shooting, getting in my lifting, everything that's necessary to become the best bow hunter I can be this season. So thanks a bunch, you guys. I appreciate the support. Let's get into this podcast. Baker Leavitt. I'm your host, Brian Barney, Eastmans Elevated. Okay, I'm live here. I'm over at the Eastman's office. Got a chance to meet Baker face to face. So Baker's been one of the friends at Eastman's for quite a while, and Baker has been giving me some really good guests on Eastman's Elevated and on Eastman's Flycast. So I just really appreciate you, Baker. Thanks for being on.
Well, it's just good to finally meet someone that works with Eastman's that's under 6 feet tall. That's two of us.
We got to stick together.
So we can take them. Yeah.
Yeah.
You walk into Eastman's and, like, the shortest guy here is, like, 6'2", 6'3".
There is something in the water over here. I feel the same way. Yeah, I'm surrounded by giants every time I come in here.
I mean, at least you feel safe, though. Yeah, that's the good thing.
Yeah, for now. Well, at least I got you to help protect me in here. But no, it's, yeah, they build all these guys so big, and then everybody's got a cowboy hat on, and
belt buckle and starched jeans and cowboy boots, because they need the additional height on the cowboy boots. And then if you see them at SHOT Show, it's like you can spot them from a mile away, because they're all 6'3" to 6'6". They all have on cowboy hats and blazers and these massive shiny belt buckles, you know, and these fancy ass boots. And no, they're great dudes.
Oh, they're the real deal. Yeah, they're living the life out here. They're not pretending, that's for sure.
Yeah, you got that right. It's everything you would expect.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like, I want to be like, so where's your horse? Like, did you guys ride horses to work?
They're tied up outside.
Right, on the hitching post.
That's it. So you're up from, where do you reside at?
I live in Ormond Beach, Florida.
Okay.
So just north of Daytona, south of Flagler.
Okay.
On the Atlantic side.
Oh, wow.
So grew up in Savannah, Georgia. Then left Savannah at the age of 33 to go to grad school at NYU. And I was there for a few years, and then went from New York to Washington State and lived in Mill Creek, so about 25 miles north of Seattle. And then from there, I was there 8 years, and then now I am in Ormond Beach, Florida.
Okay.
Never leaving the state.
Mm-hmm.
That's home. There to stay.
Oh, good for you. Good weather down there. Good fishing.
It's phenomenal weather. It's excellent fishing. Really good hunting. It's a great state.
It's good hunting, too, down there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I mean, yes. Yeah, I mean, yes, it is. So I have a farm. We have a farm in Americus, Georgia. That's where I do all my deer hunting. And then we have a boat, so we fish the Atlantic side, and then we spend a lot of time in Steenhatchee, Florida, which is right below the Panhandle, where it starts to bend down, like the armpit right there. It's called the Lost Coast. So we spend a lot of time over there fishing, and then when scallop season comes in, we spend a lot of time scalloping there. Mm-hmm. So, and then I, take hunts. Like I went elk hunting in New Mexico this year, and the airport is 10 minutes from my house. Daytona International, tiny airport, no lines, no wait, flights everywhere. So everything's great. Very happy there. And then to the farm where I do all my deer hunting, it's like a 4-hour drive. So, and then to our place in Steenhatchee, it's 3 hours.
It's fun when you find home, isn't it? When it has everything you need and family and friends. And then, man, that ranch sounds, I thought it'd always be cool to have like a good location to hunt whitetails where you could really focus and hone in on.
So it's different for us, where you guys out here, southern whitetails is a totally different species, and it's a totally different style of hunting. And so we have 2,200 acres, and that we manage intensively, and quality deer management, take off X number of does. only shoot mature bucks that are 3.5 or greater. So it's interesting because it's convenient, but it's also the awesome part is being able to see changes in your deer herd that you are partially responsible for. So I had a really nice 9-pointer this year, which I was mentioning earlier.
Congratulations! Sounds like a big, heavy one too.
It's great. Taken off of a buck decoy, which my entire life I hear people about hunting decoys and stuff, and I was like, that is some Midwest nonsense. It would never, ever work in the South because, in my opinion, and I'll have this conversation with anyone, southern whitetails are the most skittish big game animal in North America, in my opinion.
Is it the subspecies of them or the pressure or a combination of both?
So our hunting season starts in September in Georgia in September and ends in January. South Carolina starts in mid-August. So if you look at the deer population in the state of Georgia, the number of hunters, let's put it in perspective. Nevada last year harvested, in 2019, I think just under 10,000 whitetails. Georgia, if I'm not mistaken, is about 400,000.
Wow.
So as a resident or non-resident, you come to Georgia, you go hunting with me, you buy your hunting license, and you can take 10 does and 2 bucks. Just because the population is so drastic. And it's what was your question? I got
whether it was the deer subspecies or the pressure that did it.
So they are they're pursued basically half the year, and they're just super skittish. Like you can be hunting a food plot and have some deer browsing in the southeast corner, and you'll have deer enter the northwest corner, and the deer in the southeast corner will run like a striped ascarella, just because they don't ever get calm or relaxed. They're always just constantly freaked out by everything, and then they're pursued year round. Not year round, but 6 months out of the year. So
pressured animals and unpressured animals are two different species.
Right. Yeah.
And hunting high pressure elk and then hunting elk in the middle of the wilderness in the mountains, they're two different species that I hunt. So I totally get that. And then as far as subspecies, I know, like I've hunted those Coues whitetail with my bow. Those things are jumpy as all get out. They never relax, and it's another subspecies of whitetail. And I would think those Georgia whitetails are pretty close to those key deer that you have in Florida, or at least a smaller subspecies of whitetail.
Yeah. So my biggest whitetail in Georgia, the 9-pointer I shot this year, it was in December, I think I shot him. So he was like, I shot him right at the tail end of the rut, and he had lost probably 30 or 40 pounds. So a big whitetail for us, like a big body whitetail, is 230, 240 pounds. A 250 is a monster. Whereas you guys, a deer 250 pounds is just no big deal. They're just insanely pressured. I love it. It's great. And I got to a place where I could just drive. I'd go up on Wednesday or Thursday and hunt the weekend, and then drive home, work and stuff. But yeah, it's been a real joy.
Yeah, how cool! Super switched on. Yeah,
and then I can get on a plane. I went out to New Mexico and got a nice little elk.
Good for you. How'd you like? You've hunted bulls before, right?
I have. Yeah. So I shot my first elk 5 years ago in Utah with my bow, in Park City. I think it's East Canyon Ranch is where I was, that unit. Sitting on a so I was with my buddy, and he had his daughter, and he said, I'm going to take her over here. This was the first day. He's like, do you mind if you can just sit this wallow? And I was like, yeah, I got a cow call, a hoochie mama, and I'm just going to sit here, and if an elk comes in, and like I was hunting broadside elk, legal elk. It's my first elk hunt. I didn't care. I didn't care what it was. I was like, all right, I'll just pretend it's a big deer, and I'll be still, and when it comes in, and if it presents a broadside shot, I'm going to put it through both its lungs. Pretty simple. I got it. I can do this, no problem. So I'm sitting there, and it was Georgia Notre Dame game, and I was like 1X roaming, and I had one little bar, and the game started, I think it was it was like 5:01, I think was the time. And like, I get like sporadic texts from my brother. And I'm a huge University of Georgia football fan. That's a huge fan. And I think that they had scored first early. And it's like, and I'm sitting there and I hear this noise that I'd never heard in nature before in my life. And I was like, what is that sound? And I was like, and I wear hearing aids because my hearing's bad. And this was before I had hearing aids. So I was like, I'm going to go investigate. So I knocked an arrow and kind of slipped down this meadow. All right. And I come to the edge of this meadow and it's like a hill that kind of goes down. There's a big hardwood that had fallen across the base of the meadow, the low point of the meadow, massive tree. And I'm standing there and I look to my right and there's a cow moose. And I was like, and what I'm telling you right now happened in 1 to 2 seconds. Okay. This is how fast all this stuff happened. I look over and I went, that must have been what was making that noise. What a ridiculous looking animal. And I'm like, this big, huge, massive cow moose. I was like, what a silly creature. And then I look to my left and I see horns and I saw G1s. And I thought, oh my God, I can't believe this is happening to me. And then my next thought was, this thing is covered in mud. Like there's mud falling off its rack. I was like, what is going on? And then I thought, on the clock, get back in the game. Like it's on now. I have chills right now telling this story. Barney will vouch for my hair on my arms is standing up. And I thought, here, this is it. And let me backtrack. Growing up in the South, you always wonder, like, I would love to hunt elk out west. Will I ever get that chance? Will I ever get an opportunity to shoot one? Will I kill an elk? Will I have success? It's an aspirational thought that all Southern boys grow up with, okay? And so I'm like, okay, I'm here, and this is happening. I have no shot. Damn it. And I was like, well, if he hangs a left, my left, and walks 15 yards in between these two hardwoods, that's my shot opportunity. And it was like a remote control car. He hung a left, walked 15 yards, and not only did he stop there, he took maybe a 10-degree turn to his right and opened up his left shoulder and gave me both lungs. And like, I pulled that bow back like it weighed, like it was a child's bow. And I don't remember the shot, because I don't remember anything. I just remember coming back, knock, peep, all that stuff. And I put the 20 and the 30 right on his lungs and cut it loose. And I was like, oh my God. And he took off running. And I'm standing there by myself. And I look down, my right leg is just jackhammering. And I just pulled out my phone and recorded my leg. I don't know why. And then I was like, what am I doing? This is so insane. I put my phone up and like I'm looking to my right and my left, and it's like, what do I do? This is insane. I just shot an elk. And then, like, all hunting doubt creeps in. Instantaneously. Oh my God, I bet I screwed this. Oh my God. And then I thought, I was like, oh, I bet I gut shot him. I screwed this up. Or I hit him in his liver. And I was like, no, man, I felt great about the shot. And like, I think it was good. They have really big lungs. Like, and so I was like, all right, I need to wait 45 minutes. Like I'd seen on hunting television shows or something, And so I was like, well, I'm just going to ease over to where he was. And so I walk over there and, I literally looked for a quarter of a second. I was like, man, I missed. And I was like, wait a minute, no, there's the arrow. Oh, there's blood on it. It's good blood. And then I looked to my left, the direction he ran in. And what I'm about to tell you, I exaggerate for effect a lot. Like I get emotional and I, try to make people laugh and stuff. It looked like a haunted house had just cut a trail through the woods. There was blood on the ground to the right, the left. There was blood 8 feet in the air. A 2-year-old could have tracked this elk. So I walked 65 yards, dude, and it was like one of those midnight M. Night Shyamalan horror movies, just everywhere. And then I get to this clearing. And so he was running through the woods, blood everywhere. And then basically what happened was he stopped. And like, remember I said he was covered in mud. And I was like, oh my God, there's not like this massive blood trail. And then like I looked to my right, looked to my left, and I was like, oh shit, I did gut shot him. More doubt crept in. And then I found a speck of mud and blood, like right there. And I was like, damn it, man, it's over. I screwed it. I ruined it. This isn't going to work for me. And then I looked to my left, and he was laying there dead as hell. It's awesome, dude. So back to the comment about Georgia Notre Dame game. And so I was like, and I went to call my buddy and be like, oh my God, I just killed an elk. Like, oh my, like I'm freaking out, man. Because like I had just accomplished something that as growing up in the South, you just didn't know if it was ever going to happen because elk hunting is so foreign to us. You know, it's not like something like you guys see all the time. Like I'd never seen a dead elk, you know? And so I pull up my phone and like there's all these updates from my brother on this game, and like I'm trying to find out what's going on with the game and all this stuff, and like the lead had kind of gone back and forth a few times, and like my brother's emotional like me, and he's like, we're gonna beat their ass, and then he's like, they're killing us, and like I was like, just a sensory overload, man. Like I mean, dude, like I was a wreck. Like I was so excited, and then I was like, and so my buddy comes and we break down the elk and took some photos, dude, and like I mean I was on top of a mountain. Literally and figuratively and emotionally, I was just like, if I never hunt elk again, or if I never kill an elk again, like I got one, like I got one, you know. And as a Southerner, it was just a phenomenal feeling. So we're breaking it down. We get it broken down. And then, hold on, it was at 4, not 5. Times in. And so he's like, well, I'm going to go back. We're going to take this here. I think it took us about maybe an hour and a half. And he's a wizard at breaking. And the elk fell in the perfect spot to break it. I mean, like everything was perfect. Okay. So he's like, I'm going to go sit with my daughter for the last like 30 minutes. Okay. And he's like, by the way, he's like, I heard your elk crash. You know, he's like, I knew you dropped him. And so, I'm sitting there, and then so now I'm by myself with this elk, and it's euphoric, and I'm getting like sporadic updates from my brother, and like then we took the lead, and it's like the 4th quarter, and then finally we're like hiking this, packing this elk out at dark now, and it's me, him, and his little daughter, and like I was just like, I don't pray, I'm not like a super religious person. I was like, God, if we could just beat Notre Dame today, I'll never ask you for anything the rest of my life. Elk and beat Notre Dame, because I can't stand that program. And I just remember, man, like every step on that pack out was the best step of my life, because it was like everything had like a super purpose to it. And so I lost track, I lost full signal. They had just taken the lead. And I was like, son of a bitch. And then we get to the truck and get the elk loaded up. We're driving out of the canyon, and then like my phone just lit up. Everybody's like, man, congratulations. And I was like, yeah, thanks, dude. It was an awesome hunt. And I was like, wait a minute. What are you talking about? They're like, man, you guys beat Notre Dame. Like, it's an amazing game. And I was like, greatest day ever. Best day ever. So, and then since then, I've killed a few more elk. I got one in Colorado. I got one in Idaho, in the Subway Bitterroot the next year with my buddy Jamie, who I started the hunter recruitment project with. Horseback. And so what I did with that was I got thrown off a horse when I was 12. And this is the truth. I had not been on a horse's back in 31 years. All right. Terrified. Irrational fear. Totally irrational. There's no rational thought behind my fear. It just screwed me up, you know? And so I was like, all right, I booked this hunt with Boulder Creek Outfitters. And, I was like, Jamie, I want you to come on this elk hunt. He's like, all right. And the rationale was, I don't mind eating $4,000. I mean, I do, but I don't know that cost of that hunt would have prevented me from not getting on a horse's back. But if one of my best friends is with me, I'm not going to be a coward and not get on a horse. So he's there, and he's like, you ready? And I was like, yeah, man, it's going to be great. Dude, inside, I was a train wreck. And he's got a video of me walking to the horse and getting on the horse like I had done it my whole life. And so we're riding the horses in, and he looks back. He's like, "How you doing?" I was like, "Man, like I don't know how I haven't done this." in so long. I was like, this is amazing. And it's interesting because horses have the same gait as human beings do. And my buddy Crispy, who lost a leg in Iraq, one of the ways he learned to walk with a prosthetic was on the back of a horse because it teaches your hips to move. Horses, same gait as a human being. And so I was like, man, this is awesome. And it was just great. And then, what I learned was that, so I got thrown when I was 12, got back on the horse, rode to our farm board, rode to the barn, Apache boy, he's a little Appaloosa, and never been on a horse for 31 years. All right. It didn't hurt when I fell off. I tell people I was thrown, but he just got a piece of barbed wire hit his foot and he reared up a little bit. He had a tender mouth, so I yanked on the reins, and I just kind of slid off his ass and fell on the ground. It didn't hurt, So, that's a waypoint in the story. Removed from the back of a horse by the horse, freaked me out. So, I learned that hornets, wasps, and yellow jackets in this part of the country aren't in trees, they're underground. And so this was early September, and the first horse alerts, second horse irritates the hive, and then the third horse gets lit up. I was always the third horse. So on the way in, and we're on I remember one time, the first time it happened, we were on a kind of like a rocky outcropping. And so I totally trusted the animals. They know what they're doing. You don't even need to hold the reins. They walk. But he just took off running. And I was like, holy shit. That kind of scared me. But it was I gained a lot of trust with that horse in that moment. I was like, all right, I'm safe. And so it was awesome. And then happened again on the way into camp. So it's twice. And I was like, I don't really like that, but whatever. And then the next morning we were hunting. We were going up to a knob. 3/4 of the way up, we hear an elk bugle in a meadow. And I dismounted my steed because I felt like Legolas from Lord of the Rings, the elf. Dismounting midair, mid-stride, removing my bow from the scabbard, knocking an arrow, and diving into the bush. In my head, it was like, you are the most athletic hunter in Idaho today. You are silky and you are smooth. I felt like, and so I'm in the, it was horse trail, 10 feet of the gnarliest, thickest, where a black bear would hang out. And in this beautiful meadow, all right, with ferns and stuff. So I'm sitting there on a knee, kind of quartering a little bit to my left. My bow's on the ground, basically. In my hand, the cam's at the bottom, so it's here. And then all of a sudden I hear, and Jamie was 20 yards ahead of me, and I hear him walking through the brush to me. I was like, what is he doing? I was like, and I've hunted on 3 continents with Jamie, all right? And Jamie grew up hunting deer in the South. And I'm like, no, there's no way in the world that Jamie Shira is walking to me through the brush. It's not. And then I look to my right, and I swear to you, 6 feet in front of me was a 5x6 bull elk, snot dripping out of his nose, eyes bloodshot, looked insane. And I'm sitting here going, and this was the first day elk hunting. So I shot my first elk first day in Utah, and now I'm on my second elk hunt, and I'm eye to eye 6 feet with this bull elk. And that's a crazy experience, man, because I still haven't had an elk hunting experience. I heard a wallow, I went down to the edge of a meadow, and elk walked up and I shot him. All right, so I wasn't interacting with him or any of that stuff. It's just opportunity shot. Got my elk. So I'm here, and he rips a bugle in my face, and I'm just like, what is going on? What's going on? And then he walked directly in front of me. So he's 4 feet in front of me, eyeball to eyeball, from me to you. And so what do? Remember, I'm on a knee. My left knee is up. My right knee's on the ground. And my body's aiming at 10 o'clock. And he's at 12. So what do? I draw my bow. So I'm sitting there with a 70-pound bow pulled back. I'm holding it at my waist. And I'm like, what in the hell am I going to do with this? And so I was like, you know what, man? I'm going to stand up and shoot him in his face. Not literally, but I'm just going to stand up and drill him. Didn't work. So I stand up, and he takes off running. He runs 33 yards into that meadow. And these ferns are shoulder height on me. But there was a 10-foot by 3-foot wide strip that he stopped in and cut a 180 and was staring at me. And I thought, I got a lot of buddies in Spec Ops, and I know that, like I thought about Andy Stump, who was in SEAL Team 6, and I thought about Evan Hafer. Evan was a Green Beret, founder of Black Rifle, and he worked for the CIA as well. And I started like running through stories that they told me, combat experiences and stuff. And I was like, I don't want to get shot in the neck. And so I was like, if I hit him dead center, I'm going to hit his esophagus. If I'm right, I'm jugular. If I'm left, I'm jugular. And if I'm far right or left, I just totally miss him. And I felt great about the shot. And I was like, right through, front, facing me. And that was it. First elk, first day. Second elk, first morning. Story gets a lot better from here. So I am on cloud 9. Like I can't even explain it to you because I conquered a fear of horses, shot my second elk, justified a shot that some people probably wouldn't take. But in my head, I was like, if these things happen, it's going to end up in me getting another elk. And it did exactly what I wanted to happen happened. Elk died, bled out real fast. So, and this is where the rest of the story gets good because then I thought it's only going to get worse from here. Because any time in my life where like something crazy like that's happened, like on the first opportunity, it all tends to kind of go downhill from there. So I spent the next 9 days with my buddy Jamie. We didn't see an elk. We didn't hear an elk. We didn't see any fresh elk sign. We saw a 3-month-old elk poop. And back to the horse. Not only did I overcome a fear of horses, I then regressed back to an even greater fear of horses. Because every single day, 2 to 3 times a day, my horse would get stung by wasps and I'd get thrown. So the last day, second to last, we horseback in 12 miles. I said, I'm not getting back on that horse. I'm not hunting in the morning. I'm walking back to the lodge. And I grabbed my bow and my pack and I walked 12 miles out and back to the lodge. And so, yeah, it was that. And then the next year I was at the Motherwell Ranch in Colorado, and got like a little raghorn. And then New Mexico, I got, a nice bull this year. And so that was a really interesting hunt. The Colorado hunt, but that was actually, the Colorado hunt was the smallest bull by far, like just way smallest. But I got to experience an elk hunt, the bugling, at full draw for a minute and a half. While at full draw, waiting, just give me a step. Give me one step and it's over. I had a bull come up behind me and start bugling, and I had one show up to the left and start bugling. Like the whole elk hunting experience, like interacting with the animals, happened at the Motherwell Ranch for me, and it was pretty rad. And also my guide on that hunt, not a lot in common with him at all, actually. Nothing in common with the guy. Kind of thought he was annoying. Didn't really like him. Didn't really care for him. But while elk hunting, if I had to choose a person to elk hunt with, it would be him, because the dude was so excited, and he'd been doing this for 30 years. He was more excited than I was. And I knew that he wanted me to succeed more than I did. And that's a pretty badass feeling. Mm-hmm. To know that someone has your back and is rooting for you to be successful, above all things. And then New Mexico this year, I got out there like the tail end of the rut, missed a monster. My first 3 were with my bow, and this was my first rifle hunt experience, and got on some really big bulls, man. I had one bull that I'm going off what they told me. They said it was a 360. Okay, I couldn't tell you anything, man. Like I can't judge an elk. I can be like, that's a big bull, and that's not a big bull, and I could say that's going to be a really good bull because he's kind of young. Like, and Reekers kind of walked me through how judging him and stuff, and it was a stud. It was a behemoth. And I was in the sticks for an hour and 15 minutes. And I was like, I need 4 steps. I just need four measly steps. And I got an hour and a half before sunset. This is going to happen. This is going to be cool. And so like the first like 20 minutes, like just absolutely dead frozen. Like in the sticks, on the gun, not moving a hair. And then like the cows that were in front of me, like I think it's interesting to observe animals become comfortable with things, and then you become comfortable with them, and like so you can get away with a little bit of movement. And so like finally it's like, all right, I just and then I started really looking. I was like, man, I don't need 4 steps. I need 2. This is a 300 Win Mag, 2 steps, and it's over with. And he wouldn't give them to me. And so we backed out, and he gave me one of those FU bugles as we were walking out, like just ripped a monster. Like, get out of here. So, and then the next morning, this is morning. I mean, in hindsight, I had more opportunities if we had done a few things differently, which is kind of cool to always look back on. But the fourth afternoon, I was like, you know what? I have a hierarchy in my head of the way my hunting is supposed to go. So could I pay $15,000 and go kill some 360, 370 like monster, $25,000? Could I do that? Yeah, I probably could if I wanted to. But I would feel really awkward about it. Like I would probably be personally embarrassed if I'm like, I've got like a €285 and a €305, and then all of a sudden there's this behemoth, and this little raghorn euro over here. And there's this behemoth, and it's like, I don't know enough about elk hunting to have that yet. Does that make sense?
It does.
So, and I was like, man, I just want a good bull. Like, and I told the outfitter, I was like, hey, man, like, I don't give a shit about some monster. I just want to go have a cool hunt today. Let's just go out today, and let's just do it right, and whatever happens, happens. And if I get a bull, I don't want a raghorn, but like, let's not worry about that. Because I think if we're judging success on this hunt based on a score that I don't even know how to score an elk, that's kind of a douchey thing for me. If that was you, I wouldn't judge you for it. It's just me. It's just not the way I do things. And he's like, all right, I like your attitude. So that morning, we almost got on this really cool looking bull elk. And I needed him to take the 2 steps he took a quarter of the speed he took them at. And then that afternoon, like we were trying to chase down this, like we had a really nice bull, and then all of a sudden it's like, no, they're not there. They're over here. So we kind of start moving to a spot, and I learned on that trip is you hunt point A, and you're hunting point B. But you also have to hunt the transition between A and B. You can't just be like, we want to get over here and hunt. You don't just haul ass and bushwhack your way over there. No, you need to move slow and quietly. And all the things that you do at A and B, you need to do between A and B. Mm-hmm. You see what I'm saying there? Mm-hmm. Sure as shit, man. This fires me up. I was like, don't move. What? I went, what do you mean? What? What do you think I'm talking? There's an elk right there. He's like, oh, okay. He's an older gentleman. Great guy. And I saw horns. And I was like, oh, my God. Oh, yeah. Here we go. And we're glassing. And this is like, I thought they were like 150 yards away. They were like 300. And we're watching them, and the cows are milling in front of us. And all of a sudden, I get a better look at the bull. And I was like, that's that bull from this morning. He's like, it damn sure is. And he's like, as soon as he crosses that clearing, drill him. I was like, you don't have to tell me twice. Like, I'm going to shoot him. And he goes, and shoot him until he stops moving. They're tough animals. Put him on the ground. If he doesn't drop, shoot him again. I was like, all right. So, and I will tell all the listeners this. I do not profess to be a good rifle shot. I get buck fever. I get so excited. I'm not the best hunter, but I think you would have a hard time finding anyone that has as much fun as I do. And I'm not willing to give up that component of hunting for myself to become like a sniper or a marksman, because like I get buck fever. I shake. I'm just, and that to me is just, it's just what makes it fun for me, And so my first shot, he told me, he said, don't shoot them in the shoulder. Shoot them 3 inches behind the shoulder. As a southern whitetail hunter that drops a ton of deer every year with a 30-06 high shoulder, that's been ingrained in my body, in my psyche, my DNA. 30-06 high shoulder. Had a 300 Win Mag. did exactly what he said don't do. Shot him a little bit front on his left shoulder, and he took off, and then actually had to shoot him a couple other times. But, like, that was just an awesome hunt, too. So I got that. So I got that elk this year in New Mexico. It was just super awesome experience, man. Like, it's great. And it's, like, I think the people that hunt elk as much as you guys do, I don't think you understand, like, how lucky you guys really are. So the way the Southerners, like, we don't idolize, that'd be the wrong word, but, like, we're like, man, those dudes, like, they're out there chasing elk every weekend. And so for us, it's like we have a week, those of us that do it, we'll go somewhere for a week at a time each year, usually a different state, and try to get it done. And so we're trying to create a lifetime of memories in a very short period of time, you know? So, yeah, man, it's awesome. I love it.
Good on you, man.
Yeah.
You got some good elk hunting experience. Just over in the last handful of years, I mean, I still think to this day there is nothing more thrilling or exciting than hunting bull elk, and especially hunting bull elk during the rut.
I tell people that if you hear an elk bugle and you are in pursuit of a bull elk, you are hunting and you hear one bugle and you don't feel it at a cellular level, there's something off with you. I'm not saying you're a bad person. I'm just saying you might want to go talk to someone, get some blood work done. It's just like there's something.
Yeah.
Some levels are not right. Like, there's nothing that can compare to it.
There's something that attaches to our DNA. There's something like hunting bull elk is more exciting than jumping out of an airplane, more exciting than bungee jump. It's more exciting than anything I've done in my entire life. Like the thrill that I get out of chasing those things. And elk are real fun because they're nomadic as well. And so it's not like where you see an elk, it's not this methodical, planned out, slow play on these elk. You have to hunt elk aggressively, and you have to move with them.
Yeah.
And you also have to adapt to the situation at which you're given. And so you see elk a long ways away on a feeding feature, and you make a plan. But when you get over there, the plan's all changed. You got to come up with another plan. So, like, it's that there's so much critical thinking that goes on too, and so much strategy that goes on, and then the adrenaline. Like every time I hear one of those things bugle, man, it just sends chills down my spine. And the fun is getting into them and being in the party and having them bugle around you, like those nights where you get in and you find magic that you put in 20 days of elk hunting, but all of a sudden you hit it right where you hear 300 bugles and they're glunking and they're chasing cows and you're trying to get close. I walk away from those moments like thinking it just doesn't get any better in life for me.
Right.
Like that is it. That is the pinnacle. And I will walk through broken glass day in, day out to try to reproduce that excitement, that thrill, that fun.
So if you look at the emotions associated with things that you mentioned, jumping out of airplanes, elk, stuff like that, there's no fear component attached to elk hunting.
Oh, that's right.
It's purely joy. Now there's frustration, but the frustration is a byproduct of joy. Like something doesn't work out. You're frustrated. They're not cooperating. But you easily default back to joy. And it's such a simple, tiny, tiny little mechanism that can revert you back to that feeling of joy and euphoria. Shit, they're not here. You hear an elk bugle. You immediately revert back to joy, excitement, whatever your the word you want to use. So yeah, I think it's like the closest thing that we have to that, and I catch a lot of shit over this. There are people listening to this podcast that might turn it off after I say this. Turkey hunting is very similar to elk hunting, and stick with me, listeners. It's the closest thing Southerners have to elk hunting. So, like, for us, like I said, we have a week, once a year, on average, where we'll go somewhere and elk hunt. But we have our turkey season, and it's very similar because it's the interaction, the turkey gobble, the turkey coming into you, to your gobble, to your decoy, or you're just, using a call to get him in. And for us, it's very similar, that gobble. And so we have that to go on throughout in the spring, and then once you go on your first elk hunt as a Southerner, and you hear that elk bugle, you immediately stop comparing elk hunting to turkey hunting. It's completely insane. And like growing up in the South, man, and I say that a lot, but like there's certain things like most Southern, you either want to go hunt in Africa, like Wild Kingdom growing up as a kid, or you want to go hunt the West, like the bears and the elk and the mule deer. And not really, bighorn sheep or elk or bears, grizzlies and stuff. Those are like aspirational hunts for Southerners. And I've had the joy of actually being able to do both of those. And I've been to Africa a bunch, which is just a phenomenal experience. And I think and we'll talk about this later, the Hunter Recruitment Project, it kind of spawned off of some trips of us going to Africa. But I cannot imagine a year going by from now until the time I'm in the ground where I don't go out west elk hunting. And one of the things that I've dreamed of doing, I've hunted elk with my best friends. And my brother, Mitchell, he's an MD, he was a Force Recon Marine for 6 years, got out, went to college, medical school, residency, fellowship at Stanford, and now he's a doctor. Paid off all his student loans like super aggressively, and now he's making really. His primary thing is spinal stimulators. Okay. So he's actually has some success now. Paid off his debt and his medical student loans and all that stuff. Wife, 2 kids, and he's like I want to shoot an elk, and I'm like, now we're talking, brother. Like now you're speaking my language. So I'm trying to plan an elk hunt for him this coming fall to take him on his first elk hunt.
Oh, how cool. You get to share it with him.
Oh yeah, it's good. But like you gotta, it's interesting like looking at guys that like have seen combat and heavy combat. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of people like, oh, this dude, he's Green Beret or he's a SEAL or whatever, and we're gonna take him hunting and all that stuff, and that's gonna like cure his ailments and all that stuff. It's interesting, like the process where it really makes a difference, and where like watching Evan Hafer, the CEO and founder of Black Rifle Coffee, get into elk hunting, like watching Andy. I was with Andy when he went out on his first elk hunt in Utah, and watching those guys, like the process, because like elk hunting, you're not like, all right, man, I'm gonna go shoot an elk, bow hunting elk. You're just gonna go. No, you start practicing, and there's a process. And it's like a journey, and there's a purpose. And that's one of the other things about elk hunting that I absolutely love is getting a bow, shooting. So in the South, you're not shooting a whitetail over 30 yards with a bow. I don't care. I don't care who you are. I don't care how good a shot you are. Like they string jump like you wouldn't believe. And like a whitetail deer will put its belly on the ground before you hear your string. So like, then you start getting out of your comfort zone, 30, 40, 50, 60. And then I remember when John Dudley started working with Andy Stump and like had him shooting out to 100, I was like, that is absolutely insane. But it's like, if you practice at 100, 40, 50 is a chip shot for you, man. So that's another thing I really like about elk hunting, is because you don't have to be in shape to hunt whitetails in the South. You don't spot and stalk them. You sit in the ground. Hunting whitetails out of a ground blind in the South is actually kind of silly too. You're in a tree stand or blind. If you're bow hunting, you're in a lock one, and just you got to be in shape. Because I'm for those listening, I'm 5'10", 235, 240 pounds, and I live in Florida. What we don't have in Florida is hills. It's as flat as this table my hand's on right now. So the whole process with elk hunting, it's a journey, and it's not just I'm going to go on this hunt, or I'm going to draw this tag, and I'm going to go be successful. No, you got to be in shape. You got to be really good with your bow, and you have to learn some patience, because there's a lot of twigs and branches and sticks, and you'll see great elks, and there's no shot opportunity. Great elk, there's no shot opportunities. You just have to be patient. I don't think there's anything like it.
I like the way you explained it. That it's not the success of harvesting an elk that's the most exciting part, or the best part of the process or the journey. It's everything in between. Yeah. It's preparing for it, and that's probably why you're seeing the military guys, why they connect with it so well is because, they're used to training and putting a lot of hard work and then showing up to game day or showing up, to battle and being ready. And I think they get that same thing out of hunting elk. They have to prepare all year long. Yeah. And then when they get there, they find out how difficult it is, how difficult the mountains are, how difficult it is to keep your composure and make a shot, how difficult the whole process is and what it takes from you just to give yourself a chance at success. Yeah. So, like, they're falling in love with the whole journey and process, and with that comes that excitement to get into elk. I love the way you explain that.
It's phenomenal.
Yeah.
And then also, I had shot my first mule deer, which is that was last year in the Panhandle of Texas. Phenomenal deer. And I hunted mule deer with my buddy Jamie in September out in Arizona, and I think Unit 17A. I think we were with Big Chino Outfitters. Okay. 11 is the strip, right?
12 and 13 are the strip.
So I think we were 17A. And if I'm saying that incorrectly, I don't know what I'm talking about. But that was spot and stalk, with a bow, over the counter public land mule deer where the success rate is like 20%. That was a whole different experience. But some of my greatest memories have come hunting, and it's been with other people. So I've had tremendous success in hunting. I've harvested a ton of animals, and I've shot a lot of deer, ton of stuff in Africa. I've had some success with elk, as I described earlier. But the thing now in life, honest to God, you get to a point, man, where like killing an animal and it's fun. You're getting meat, and I love to give the meat away. Like I adore it. But the thing that I realized and Jamie realized at about the same time was the joy from hunting with your friends and introducing people to it. So, like, I totally get off on giving meat to people that have never had it and stuff, and they freak out about it. And so I went on a stalk the first morning, and I thought, all of our hunting trips together, me and Jamie, I've always, like, killed the first day. Like, I have a golden horseshoe shoved at my ass, all right? Especially with elk. And then, so my first stalk, I was just kind of, hiking in, try to get on this buck, and I was just like, this is so fun. It's just typical. I'll kill day one, he'll kill, if he does, like day 7. So, wind shifted, bumped some does, bumped the does into the buck ran off, come out, get in the truck, and we've glassed up this monstrous tanker of a mule deer. And he's in a thicket, and the wind's blowing from 2 to 8. All right? And perfect scenario. Like, it doesn't, JP said, he goes, this is the perfect scenario to spot and stalk in on a mule deer buck. So we sent Jamie, I think it was about 2.5 miles in to get to where there was a big juniper tree. We're like, you need to get there. And takes him forever. He finally gets there. Every step counts. And if you think you're going slow enough, go slower. Takes his shoes off, all that stuff. He gets to the base of that juniper, and you can use radios in Arizona. And it's funny, like when you're glassing something from here, and you think you know what it looks like, from up there, it's a totally different, it doesn't look the same. So we thought that this buck was 60 yards from him. All right. And he gets there, and we're not talking, we're going through clicks, like 1 click yes, 2 clicks no. Well, that buck was like 17 yards from him.
Oh my gosh. Oh wow.
So the sun started to move, and the sun started to hit. There was some flies around the buck's head, and he was shaking his head, and that's when Jamie knew where he was. And he ranged him, and so all of a sudden he stands up, and me and JP and Robert are like, oh my God, he's up, and we can't, we don't want to talk into Jamie's ear and distract him. We're like, oh my God, the buck starts walking to the tree that he's kneeling under, because there was shade there. And I'm going, what in the hell is going on? He's walking directly to Jamie with his head down. And the only shot Jamie had would be put it through his skull plate, which he's not going to take that shot. Now, Jamie's 6'5". His bows, he shoots a Big Matthews. His arrows are like 560, and they're just super heavy. And his bow, he's got
so much energy.
He's got like a 33-inch draw, too. So this thing is, and I'm like, he could shoot him in the head and it'd probably penetrate his skull, but that's just a stupid shot. He gets to 7 feet from Jamie. 7. And he goes to bed. So you know how a dog does the stretch where he stretches his legs out? So he does that, and right then he sees Jamie, and he goes to turn, and he just drills him. And I'm screaming at the top of my lungs because I watched the whole thing through glass. And JP's like, we got blood. Now, like I said, Jamie shoots a huge arrow, and it's going like 210 miles an hour, something absurd. it's like a Tomahawk missile, man. And he's like, we got blood, and we see the buck take off running, and he just eats it. Full velvet, just a hammer. I actually think you guys posted it on Eastman Social. And that, for me, was kind of the genesis for the hunter recruitment project, which I'll get into now. But Jamie mentioned it to Brandon and Lily, and then we were sitting at the farm in Americus, and we came up with this idea. It's like, we have this property. It's 2,200 acres. Jamie's dad is probably one of the best land managers, developing land for deer and all that stuff. He's done it his whole life. And so his first project was Rio Pedro, which was down in South Georgia, quail capital of the world, well, arguably Texas, South Georgia. And it was a quail plantation. And it was the first Orvis-endorsed wing shooting lodge in North America. So, this guy knows what he's doing. And he's older now, and he likes to buy land and develop it and put in roads and, cruise the timber and not strip the timber, but selectively harvest it so it grows bigger and better and just really improve the deer habitat. And he is obsessed with deer. They're his property. These aren't fenced properties. There's no fence. There's no livestock there. He just likes growing big deer. And it's like, we got this property and we need to, harvest, a bunch of does off of it every year, and to manage the bucks, we need to get rid of our cull bucks and stuff like that. And he's like, I want to start taking some people who've never been hunting. And I was like, yeah, let's call it the Hunter Recruitment Project. So the HRP was born, and what we do, we did 2 trips this year to the property, and we took 7 hunters and paired each hunter up with a mentor. So they're there 4 days, and teach them how to mount a scope, how to zero a rifle, how to shoot a rifle, and we teach them about stand selection, stand placement, all that stuff. And every single person that came on every trip shot 1 to 2 does. And so we teach them how to butcher and break down, take them up to the processor, clean them, skin them, process the meat and all that stuff. And Tier Simac, who's head of corporate giving for Black Rifle Coffee, is a Special Forces medic. Did like a wilderness medic course and told him if you follow the standard, you get hurt, you get injured, whatever. And so we have some great brands that work with us and support the process. And then Mike Hearn came on as our director of operations. He's an E8 in the U.S. Army, and he did a course on Tag Hub and all that stuff, and then how to find public land access, because a lot of the people were from not from the South, they're from out west and stuff. So started doing that. Had 2 very successful events. So I think it was 18 people killed their first deer. Got blood on the face.
Amazing. Yeah, how cool.
And the mentors are we handpick the hunters, and we handpick the mentors. So the mentors were Bert Soren, who owns Sornex.
Amazing. Yeah, he's a great guy.
Terry Hewin, who was a Navy SEAL for 26 years, 17 years in SEAL Team 6. Awesome guy. Brandon Lilly was a mentor. Who else did we have? Jamie was a mentor, myself, Michael Howell, one of our closest friends, played professional baseball.
That's amazing. Well, the bar for entry to get into hunting is so difficult. If you don't have a mentor, your family wasn't into it, it's so tough to get into and to find the information or the knowledge, and people feel overwhelmed or intimidated by the process.
Well, that's the main thing. It's fear. Fear is the greatest. fear will prevent you from doing so many things in your lifetime that you don't understand how easy it is. So if you can get past the fear bar, fear of the unknown, well, I don't know how to do this. I taught myself how to hunt. So I'm from Savannah. My family's originally from Sylvania. The whole family moved to, when my great-grandfather, W.R. Altman, passed away in 1976. The whole family ended up moving to Savannah in 77. And we still have a farm in Sylvania, Georgia. And I'll never forget this. It was the day before Thanksgiving, my sophomore year of high school. Drove out to the farm at 5 o'clock in my Honda Accord and picked up a 30-06 rifle out of the passenger seat that I'd borrowed from someone. This is 1993, like Bushnell from 93, like non-variable. And I walked to the fence that goes into our big pasture. And I looked to my left, and there was 8 deer there. I put the 30-06 on the fence post and picked out the biggest one, which I thought was a big old 8-point buck because I thought the ears were horns. And put it right there, right behind the shoulder. It's a 165 grain Winchester Silvertip, the Remington 700, and pulled the trigger. And I thought that when you shot a deer, it dropped dead, like in the movies. You know, you see movies, they throw a knife at someone that kills them. And I was like, well, shit. Ran off. The hell, man. And I kind of walked down to where I thought I'd shot, and there wasn't a deer there. And I was like, well, shit, I missed. My little brother was there with me. Mitchell was 12. And it's like, shit, man, this is your fault. He's like, what are you talking about? Get in the car, go back to the farmhouse. I was like, yeah, I thought I shot a big 8-point buck, but I guess I missed. Like, well, we'll go look in the morning. And so the next morning, we go out to the farm, go to the pasture, and we're kind of, the grandfather's in his van, a big red van, and he's like driving through the field, and my brother and I are walking. My grandfather's like, oh, you missed. And he turns around, and there's the deer. I was like, oh my God, go get Tom. That's what we call our grandfather. Well, when he was alive, we called him Tom, not granddad or anything. His grandfather's our Tom. Who's Tom? Mitchell, go get Tom. So my brother goes taking off through the field. And he goes, oh my God, here's another one. So what happened was I shot a big old doe, and there was a yearling behind it that I didn't even see. And that Winchester Silvertip went through, and the exit wound was as big as a softball. And the bullet went through the doe I shot, and then went into the other doe, hit it, and ran off, and it just died there. So my first time I ever killed a deer was by myself. Well, my brother was there, but I wasn't wearing camo or anything. I didn't know shit. And 2 deer with 1 shot.
It's wild.
And so I taught myself.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I hunted my whole life, with no mentors. And this is, I'm like I said, I'm 45, and this is 90s and early 2000s, and like social media didn't exist, emails and internet didn't exist, and everything was either magazines or whatever. And I read whatever I could read, and kind of just taught myself. And then with but I'm the type of person that, like, I'm not scared of the unknown. It doesn't faze me. I'll just go figure something out, because I have this opinion. I kind of hold myself in a high regard in the ability to. I'm a connector. I'm a network guy, and I know that I'll go talk to people. I'll ask questions. I'll ask, hey, how do you do this? What blah blah blah. I'm not intimidated by things, because I've always thought that I belonged. Mm-hmm. Like I refer to it as I'm a starter. I always need to be on the field. If there's a meeting that there's important decisions to be made, I need to be there, because my opinion is sound and important. And I've just always kind of had that mindset. If you can do it, I know for a fact that I can do it. I'm not saying I can do it better than you initially, but and it's not like some psycho-competitive drive. It's just, if it's something I want to do, I'm going to figure it out. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people don't have that. I'm not timid. I'm not I walk and start talking to strangers. I don't care. And so a lot of people, they just don't have that ability to take that first step. And we basically showed these people how easy it is to hunt, and how easy it is to harvest, shoot, kill a deer, clean it, eat it. It's not hard. You just got to have someone willing to show you how to do it. And so all the mentors that we've chosen are accomplished hunters, soldiers, outdoorsmen. They've been hunting a long time, And every single one of them that we approached, they're like, "Oh my God, I've been wanting to do something like this for so long." Like, God, this is fantastic. So that's kind of where we are. In 2021, we plan on doing 4 deer hunts in Georgia. Like we did that. We're going to do some pig hunts. We're going to do a couple turkey hunts in Texas. I've got a place in Kansas and in Texas. So we'll do some turkey hunting and stuff like that. And then we're going to do, this summer, we're going to do a couple work parties for people that plan on coming and participating in some of our events. It's like, hey, we want to take it a step further. So I can teach you how to shoot a deer. I can teach you how to find a deer. I can teach you how to buy a hunting license, how to buy a plane ticket to get to a destination. But the next iteration is kind of teaching them, why are we doing the things that we're doing? Why is this stand here? Okay, why is this stand here? Well, there's this thing called wind. And like, you can have the greatest camo system in the world and a $5,000 rifle with a $5,000 scope and the finest handmade bullets in the world and everything you need. But if the wind's wrong, you have nothing. So we're going to do a couple work parties, teach people, and another thing we do, like, show people how to hang lock-ons and stuff like that. But it's going to be awesome, man. Like, it's something that I'm passionate about. Jamie's super passionate about. We've got several brands that have come on board. Black Rifle Coffee is going to be the title sponsor now. So it'll be the Black Rifle Coffee Hunter Recruitment Project. Everly Stock and that's another thing we do. When the hunter arrives, they have an Everly Stock pack. Cryptek provided camo. Mossberg provided rifles for everyone, the Mossberg Patriot. We've got ammo there. They've got a soft-sided Yeti cooler. So then what we do is we go to the farm and we shoot some does and have them processed. So they hang for a week, and then they get professionally butchered and all that stuff. So they're flying home with perfectly prepared meat to eat. It's not their deer, but what I don't want to do is have someone shoot a deer, gut it, and then freeze it, and then take it home. I want them to hang and all that stuff. So they get a Yeti soft-sided cooler, Leupold sends scopes for all the rifles. Everybody gets a pair of Leupold sunglasses. Everyone gets a 1-year membership to Eastman's Tag Hub. They get a 1-year subscription to the magazine, a big, huge Black Rifle welcome kit, coffee, and all hats and all this great stuff. So, and then Tactic Calories, a bunch of spices and seasonings, wild game seasonings, and then Mountain Primal provides meat and stuff. So, and it's a huge social component too. So, like, the last one we did, we had Fiona Pierce, who's from New Zealand, works for Black Rifle. We had Nikki Selby, who's a critical care flight nurse. We had Brojack, who's a Navy search and rescue swimmer. And then Sportswoman Courtney was there as a female mentor to mentor the girls. And so, like, Fiona missed twice. So she experienced failure. And then the next morning ended up taking 2 does. Nicole Scarlagino, Tier Simax's girlfriend, she didn't kill her deer until last 20 minutes of the last hunt. And it was raining. And I just kind of looked at her, and I could tell she was getting super frustrated. Just because everyone else had been done, tagged out. And so she's sitting there, and I just looked at her and went, hey, I cannot tell you how many times I've been in your situation. More times than not, I've been in your situation. But I just want you to know that what you're experiencing right now can do a 180 in a fraction of a second. You can have the worst experience of your life hunting, and then in the 11th hour, it changes like that. And she's like, yeah, I hope you're right. Now it's just in my head, I'm like going, please stop raining. Just stop raining for 20 minutes, God. Just give me a window. Let me just see one deer for this girl. And she'd seen deer. We hadn't had a chance to get her a shot like in previous hunts on the trip. And we're sitting there, and it was like, when it gets orange, and it stopped raining for like, it's just stopped raining. And it got real orangey. And I went, deer. And Nicole's small. She's like 5 feet. I stood up, physically grabbed her, and lifted her up and put her in my seat, because that was the shot. Grabbed the rifle, put it out the window of the blind, put it in her shoulder, and I just said, whenever you're comfortable, give me a slow pull on that trigger. And as soon as like the R left my mouth, boom, dropped it in its tracks at 160 yards. I've never been happier. Like, it was one of the best experiences of my life hunting, and I've had some phenomenal ones. And like, it was just like, I think she enjoyed it more than any of the other people. But like, when you come back to camp and you've got 5 trucks there and there's 7 mentors and 7 hunters, and like, there's been success and failure amongst that group. And like, everyone is just high-fiving and hugging, and like, girls have blood on their face from killing, that's in the South, that's what we do. I don't think there's no drug in the world that can compare to that. And it was just a phenomenal experience.
That was so cool.
Yeah, no, it's great. It's been great.
And like you say, people are wired different, or maybe it's just something they're interested in, but giving them those skill sets, like, today's day and age is so nerfed, and us as guys, we get to play sports in high school, and we get to challenge ourselves that way. But after we kind of get out of high school, like, we don't know where to put our energy at. And that's why I think so many people are lost, is they just don't have that passion or that love. And not that hunting's it for everybody, but it can be it for a lot of people. And that's just the start of it. Like, my family gave me the basic skills, but we grew up in Western Washington hunting blacktails, hunting Roosevelts, and we didn't know what we were doing. Our MO was to bust brush and create opportunities. Right. And we would have been more effective driving the roads and covering the openings and clear cuts and stuff. But that's just how my family hunted, which, in turn taught me some great life lessons about hard work and about effort. But then from there, after I got done with the high school sports, it was something I really loved. And I was like, man, I need something to put my energy in. And that's where I started taking hunting to the next level of finding adventure hunts that I could go on. And I built my name, or created this podcast out of nothing. I'm just a blue collar carpenter that loved to bow hunt.
So if you look at it this way, when we're growing up, so I started playing sports when I was 5 years old. When we grow up, there's opportunities and things that we should try and do. Like, you're all through elementary school, middle school, and high school, play sports. Try this sport. Join this club. Yeah. Okay, you're not an athlete. Maybe chess club or math club or science club, or be a cheerleader, or play girls basketball or wrestling or whatever it is. We're pushed into learning all of these new skills, and at least if they're not for you, we're encouraged to try these opportunities. Once you get out of high school and college, it stops. Go to work. There's no one telling you to go out and go join a rec league or play this sport or learn this new skill. And that's the thing. It's like, so I grew up playing sports my whole life. I played sports in college. You could say I played some semi-professional soccer after college. You wouldn't think it looking at me. But and then I got into raced road bikes, 10-speed Lance Armstrong stuff. I was 170 pounds back then. I did that, and then I got into CrossFit, and I competed in CrossFit, and then my left shoulder from cycling, as you can see, the range of motion is garbage. And then from that, I got into powerlifting and had some tremendous success there, and set like a state record in Washington in the back squat. And then in hunting and stuff, so I'm learning new skills as I go along, but there's been this 10-year lag of learning new skills. And so before we went on that Arizona mule deer hunt I was telling you about, I haven't been able to shoot a bow. I'm a right-handed person for everybody listening. And my left shoulder, which is the hand I hold my bow, my range of motion is garbage because of 2 really bad cycling injuries, not doing PT, and then getting into powerlifting. And I haven't shot a bow pain-free in 10 years. And I'm left-eye dominant, though. And I just thought, screw this. I'm going to learn to shoot left-handed. 5 days before I went on that Arizona mule deer hunt, I got a left-handed bow. And literally learned to shoot a bow left-handed 5 days before that trip. And now it's all I shoot is left-handed. And it was everyone's like, well, how's it going? I was like, dude, to be able to shoot a bow pain-free and the arrow go where I want it to go is phenomenal. And that was the thing that kind of tied into the HRP too. It's like, I learned a new skill. And now it's a skill I had previously doing it right-handed, but I learned to shoot a bow left-handed. And that's another thing. It's we just don't have opportunities as adults. There's no encouragement to go learn new skills. So because of social media and stuff, people, that I work with or friends with, and they follow me on social, they're like, oh, that's so cool, man. Like, you're living the life. It's like, well, you can too. You can do what I do. Like, I'm not a good hunter. You're not going to find out that has as much fun as I do. I promise. I am the best in the world at having fun hunting. I'll say that right now. But like with regards to skill and patience and all that stuff, like I don't possess those qualities. But I have a blast doing it, and there's no reason that you can't do that. Like Fiona from Black Rifle. She's like, I really want to learn to hunt. Teach me. And I was like, are you sure? She's like, yeah. I was like, all right, well, keep these dates open. Buy a plane ticket to Georgia. You're going to come hunting. She's like, are you serious? I was like, yeah, absolutely. So just the ability to take like a new hunter and you can't force it. You got to want it. Like you got to be a point in your hunting career to where failure with regards to not harvesting an animal is totally acceptable. Okay? Because you're going to get frustrated with these people. So if you're not there yet, don't do it, because what it's going to do, it's going to cause friction, because they're going to do things that you don't want them to do, but they don't know any different. Like with Nicole, she was getting frustrated, and it was physically manifesting in her to where like she was making a ton of noise, like crossing her legs loud and like stomping her. You could just move and not like nonstop movement. And I was like, hey, this can change in a quarter of a second. You just got to be patient and fight the urges that you're dealing with right now. Like, so it when you get to a point where it's not just about killing an animal, that's when you can start taking people. And even if you're not ready to take people hunting because you're still focused on yourself hunting, that's not a bad thing. You're just not there yet. You can still help people by encouraging them just, hey, get a tag, read the rules and regs. Don't call me to help understand rules and regs, because I still can't understand the damn things. And I don't know anyone that really can, because they're complicated. But just get your ass out in the field. That's what you got to do. You just got to go out. And so I think that's the thing, man. Just you don't have to have like an organization like we do where, companies are sponsoring it and all that stuff. Like you can do it yourself. Mm-hmm. Just take someone, mentor them, help them in some capacity, tell stories. Because it's interesting, like a lot of the guys at Black Rifle came from the SOCOM world. And my dad was Green Beret in 5th Group for like 22 years. He died in 1981. So I've always been kind of obsessed with that. And so, like, you can ask anyone at BRC. Like, I will ask 10,000 questions about military service and stuff like that. And I tell them, like, the things that are the most basic, simple things that those guys went through. Boot camp, basic training. They're interesting to me because I didn't do it. And it's the same thing with hunting. Like, the most basic thing, like, yeah, I'm going to go in my backyard and shoot my bow today. Share that information with someone, because like if someone, and you can tell when people are kind of reaching out, they want to learn a little bit about what you're doing. Just take a second, because what's like the basic entry level stuff to us, they don't know any of that. It's cool to them,
Man, you're so spot on. I have 2 daughters, 16 and 13, that have been hunting with me since they can begin to hold a rifle or a bow. They shoot 4-H, but you forget the basics. You forget what you've already learned. To walk back out there with fresh eyes and to look at tracks and have to tell them which way the deer's walking, or to explain feeding ground and bedding zones, and then to go have an adventure with my girls is to go out and kill a deer and have to hike it back in dark and walk through these fields, or to get out of their, it's all about getting out of their comfort level. But it's amazing when you can learn it through somebody's new eyes as seeing it. It's just like you with the hunter recruitment program. It's amazing. And not only that, but wanting to see your friends succeed and be better hunters and trying to help them. And also, people that follow the podcast or follow social media that have questions that may start them on that path.
Right.
What an amazing program you guys have come up with, the hunter recruitment program. So how do you guys choose who goes on the hunts, or who you're going to take, or how do you guys go about that?
So in business and in life, and as you evolve in things, like there's steps and stages. And I have been a proponent my entire life of singles and doubles. So the people that focus on home runs are most likely going to fail. So we're new, and I want the brand out there. So I handpick the mentors, and I handpick the hunters. And there's something in it for us and our brand, and there's something in it for them. So Fiona, Black Rifle Coffee, huge brand, phenomenal company I work with, have been with for 6 years. The more people from Black Rifle that I can take hunting and they become successful, the more support that we're going to get from Black Rifle. So Fiona, Tier, Nicole, same with Mountain Primal. So I took John Moss, who's the CEO, and now Mountain Primal promotes HRP. And then the next trip we took Darren Erb, who is a former vegan liberal hippie, looks like Jesus, who runs all the social for Mountain Primal. I took him. And I paired him up with some people that were there that they, camera guys and stuff. And then Mike McBride from Everly Stock, which is the freaking best because we were 45 minutes late getting into the stand. The wind was wrong. Everything was wrong. Everything was wrong. Okay? Everything was wrong. And we're sitting there and he had just come from a long range shooting course with Brian Morgan, Hat Creek training up in Idaho. And he's ready to get his gun on. So Morgan and Hat Creek, they work with tier 1 operators. He has 1,800 acres in, I think it's called Riggins, Idaho, and it starts at 1,800 feet and goes to 8,500 feet. And it's long range, extreme angles, and just psycho conditions. All right. And so he's like, man, I'm so fired up to put some of these new skills to work. And I was like, that's the attitude I want to hear. But you're most likely long a shot's going to be 100 yards. He's like, okay. I was like, yeah, we don't need to worry about wind and shit like that. It's, you got to, I think he had a 6.5 Creedmoor. We had a 308. And we're sitting there, and we get in the stand at 5:14. 17 minutes later, I was like, oh, it's on. Here we go. Get ready. And this group of does came out and literally walked directly to us. And he shot. He's like, I said, all right, whenever you're ready, ease the gun out of the front of the window of this blind and drill it. And dropped her in its tracks. Just dead. And I was like, yes. And he's like, we're high-fiving and fist bumping and stuff. I was like, all right, man, let's just be cool. Maybe another one come out. And so we're sitting there. He looks at me and goes, did I do everything right? And I was like, do you see that deer dead right there 30 yards in front of us? You could, that right there. Yeah, success. And I think it was 14 minutes later. So 5:17, first deer was at 5:34. And then 14 minutes later, so 5:48, a cull buck that we've been after. And I'm looking, so we were on it's called the redneck pasture blind. So we're in the blind 60 yards to the tree line. And they bed in there, and and it's cool because you can teach them feeding areas, staging areas, bedding areas. So they bed back here, they come in and they stage, and they just hang out here, and they get comfortable, and they come out into the food plot. And I was like, oh my God, there's 2 bucks. He's like, where? I was like, right in front of you. And I was like, and I'm looking, I was like, please God, let that be the one without brow tines. Let that be the one without brow tines. And I was like, oh my God, that's him. I was like, be cool. When he comes out, let's get ready. And I was like, he's walking directly to us. And I was like, when he stops, I want you to shoot him. He's like, all right. It got 9 yards from that first doe he shot, and he just drilled it right there. And we were high-fiving. And the cool part was there was plenty of daylight left for great photos and stuff. So, that was an awesome experience. It's just, it's just great, man. It's so cool. And he works with Everly Stock, and so it's interesting, because he had never been hunting before. And it's you work for Everly Stock. How have you never been hunting? He's like, I just hadn't had the chance. I want to get into it so bad. And he'd been out kind of hunting, with some guys, but he'd never had any success. And so that was just another awesome experience. And then Austin Legg, who used to work for Everly, he shot a whopper buck. So we don't necessarily want the hunters shooting our trophy deer, but Austin, it was we kind of traded you get to shoot a buck, and it was late season, and rut was over, and he sends us a text, and he's like, guys, and he sends us a phone scope photo of the deer, And like I'm texting Jamie, and I was like, man, I've seen that deer a few times. And Michael's like, I have too. And I was like, I have wanted to shoot him so bad. I just haven't had a chance. And I was like, man, we can't duplicate this experience with him. Like in Austin, you know, I don't know if he's listening, or if he will listen. Hopefully he doesn't. But like he's never put a stud animal on the ground. And he's gone out and cut his teeth and taught himself how to hunt. And he shot I think he got like a spike bull elk one year, and like he's shot some like dinker muleys and stuff out in Idaho. No offense if you're listening, Austin, but I was just like, dude, let's yeah, for sure. And I texted Jamie and Michael on the side text. I was like, let him do it. And Jamie's like, yeah, absolutely. And we're like, let it fly. And so I was at the Yellow House, and I walked down to the porch because he was hunting on a 500 acre tract right across from the other property, and I can hear the shots. And so I walk out there, and I'm like sitting there like this, and I'm listening. I hear it, and I went, that was a hit. And I jumped in the truck and just hauled ass over there. And so I entered the field where the deer was. So when you enter that peanut field, and it was winter wheat at this point, when you enter that field, it's 600 yards to the blind he was at. And he shot the deer at like 342 yards, I think is what it was. And so like I pulled into the field, and I was like, where is this deer? And I was like, oh my God, there he is. So I drive my truck up to it, and I get out, and I'm just standing there, and I'm just like waving my arms like, get your ass over here. And like he comes running across the field. It was awesome. Absolutely awesome experience.
Man, how cool. Yeah.
And that's a memory, like that memory is more meaningful than if I had shot the deer. Because it'd be a damn fine deer, but it would just be another deer on my wall.
Yeah.
But now I got a story, and it's a better story, and it's a better memory because it was a friend of mine, and it wasn't me.
Mm-hmm.
You know. And if you're willing to give up stuff, that's when I think you can really make a difference. Mm-hmm. And it's not just hunting; it's other facets of life and stuff too. Like
absolutely.
How to do a podcast, or what I do for a living is work with companies consulting on how to do social media and how to do it correctly. Mm-hmm. You know, and being able to make a difference and have an impact on something, because there's nothing in this world that will ever take that memory away from Austin. No matter what happens, all those people that went, they'll never forget their first deer. None of them, because and none of those memories are like just kind of flash in the pan stuff. You know what I mean? It's not like we were driving a road and there was a deer on the side of the road and they hung a rifle out and shot it. Like that's not a memory. Mm-hmm. They actually hunted and did everything the right way and learned how to do it, and now they have skills that they can take back home. You know,
so meaningful.
Mm-hmm.
It's how can people show their support for the program or companies get involved with the program?
So, our Instagram account is the Hunter Recruitment Project. Mm-hmm. Look it up on Instagram. Send us a DM. We're taking sponsors now because we've paid for everything out of pocket, and it's not cheap. Like when you have 14 or 15 people and like lodging, and we rent cabins and stuff on other properties, and food and drink and all that stuff. Like the price, the cash register doesn't stop ringing. So, it's a 501c3, it's a nonprofit, and, we're not trying to make a dime off of it. The goal is just to not come out of pocket. So, in doing so, I tell brands all the time, like, when you go hunting or you go do something, like, for example, you're with an outfitter or something, or you're with someone, like, let's say you took a noob hunting. Anything you do, whatever you wear, whatever you say, whatever happens, is going to stick in their brain because you're the subject matter expert. Well, Brian Barney wears this stuff. I'm going to wear it. He shoots this bow and he shoots this broadhead and all that stuff. And anytime a brand can attach their brand recognition to a positive memory, it doesn't go away. I eat Snickers bars because the women's soccer team won the Olympic gold medal in Athens, Georgia, I think 1996 or 1998. And Snickers was a huge sponsor. And like I swear to God, that was before some of the people listening were probably born, maybe. And it's just so if you look at like let's say like a national tragedy occurs, like let's say there's a mass shooting or something. Your major brands like Nike and stuff, they go dark. They don't post anything on social media. They don't run ad. They pull all their digital ads on. Everything comes down because they don't want to someone be scrolling through something and some person's calling for a gun ban because there was a school shooting or a mass shooting or whatever. So they see a pair of Nike shoes, and the next post is someone saying, guns should be outlawed, da 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 da. They don't want the association with that.
Brand affiliation.
What you want though is affiliation with positivity. So you'll see ad spend increase drastically. Say, for example, like sports stuff during times like the AFC and NFC Championship recently. Ads were running because it's a positive experience, and they cater those ads to the positive experience.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah. So, and if you think of it, it's all common sense.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, it makes
So,
sense.
Yeah. So that's that. Any brand or company that wants to get involved in any capacity, reach out to us on Instagram. Shoot us a DM. We check those, read them every day. Everly Stock is the sponsor. Killcliff, Black Rifle Coffee, Mountain Primal, Mossberg do work. Leupold supports us. Yeti provides soft-sided coolers and stuff like that. Those are the brands we're working with. Eastmans. And that's one of the things we want to actually do a lot more of is, so Mike Hearn, who's an E8 active duty U.S. Army soldier, he just moved to Colorado. And he did a course on the last event teaching how to get access to public land. And then I put him on the phone with Reekers, and they did the whole rundown on the Tag Hub. And so now he's showing people, like Fiona lives in Utah. Fiona now is armed with the information and the tools to apply for tags and stuff. And like, where's public land, what's private land, and all this stuff. Like, how do I hunt? Well, here's how you hunt. So I can get you to the starting line. I can, it's like track or something. Training, all the right equipment and all that stuff. We can teach you all that. Then you just got to want it.
Yep.
And I think the best part will be like follow-up success when they can go out and do it on their own. Or they have a friend that's never been hunting. It's like, oh my God, tell me all you did. Like, hey, I don't know shit, but I know like entry-level stuff, and I think we can be successful. Let's go out and like, we'll share a rifle or whatever. We'll just go out with glass and we'll look and stuff, and we'll see if we can make something happen. And that's how memories are made, man. That's what it's all about. If you look at like hunting is on the decline. Hunter retention is really shitty. License sales are down across the everywhere. And right now, like for example, like they're trying to outlaw. There's a bill put forth to outlaw bear hunting in California. So the more hunting licenses we can sell, and it's just more resources. I think all in 18 Georgia hunting licenses, new ones were purchased this year from our two events. And next year will be a lot more. So the goal, I think, what did we say? We want to do 50. We want to take 50 people hunting, 50 or 60 in 2021 that have never been. And then we'll expand it. I think we're going to do like a fly fishing trip in North Georgia. So like Paul Bork, whom I think Paul was on the
You
fishing.
connected me with him. Yeah, that guy was amazing. Yeah, it was a great podcast.
Like
so knowledgeable.
There's subject matter experts, and then there's Paul.
Yeah, right, exactly.
On fishing.
Yeah.
And so Paul was head coach of the U.S. national fishing team, which I didn't even know we had one of those. And they'd never won a medal. And then he took over as head coach, and they won gold in the world 6 years in a row. And he's one of like, I may get this wrong, so don't crucify me. He's like one of 9 or one of 10 master cast instructors in the U.S. or something like that. Like, it's weird. And he owns Drift Media, and he does a bunch of stuff with Black Rifle as well. He's kind of heading up our fishing vertical. When he first met Evan at SHOT Show a few years ago, we were sitting there, and he was like, hey man, like, where do you guys source your coffee? And Evan starts rattling off the countries we get our coffee in. He's like, oh, that's cool. So you would fish this river. Here's what you'll catch, and this is the bait you'll use. And we're talking like Africa and Central America and like strange places. And he's like rattling off like he was there yesterday.
He knows it by heart.
Yeah, dude, it's crazy. He knows
crazy.
He knows the bait to use, what lures to use, the season, the timing. Like it's so insane. So we're going to take people. We're going to do one fly fishing trip in North Georgia with him and take some people fly fishing and stuff. It's just like, and we floated the Middle Fork of the Salmon. Not this past summer, the summer before. And he came and he was filming the whole trip for everybody. It was a Black Rifle trip because Evan owns Idaho River Adventures, which is, when he was working for the CIA, he bought into that company, and that's how he'd spend his downtime. He was on the Middle Fork working as a guide. So he'd go, and do the gnarly stuff that we don't know about, and then he'd come back and work his ass off as a river guide. Not for money, just because it says it purified his soul. It gave him a reset. And I knew Paul was a badass when I was like, hey, man, what do I do? And he, like, while talking to me, is tying flies and shit on my line for me and, like, not looking at it. Just like, blah, 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 blah. And I looked at Logan and I was like, man, what's going on? It's crazy. You know, because, like, I tie lures and stuff on, you know, I do mostly inshore saltwater fishing. And, like, I'm sitting, you know, trying to, you know, tie my knots and all this stuff. And it was wild. And it was funny. Evan and Logan fished the entire float one day. And we stopped for, like, a late lunch. And Paul was just filming the whole time, you know. And I think Logan caught one fish and Evan caught, like, two. And you can just watch Paul. And he's like, hey, do you mind if I throw a few flies? And I was like, yeah, sure, go for it. 4 for 6. And, like, nice size cutties.
He's on a different level.
It's a
right?
different level,
Yeah.
man. And, like, he just, like, it's a phenomenal resource, you know. Like, it's unbelievable. And the thing, one of the things that Paul does is, like, so he's won, like, fly fishing film of the year a bunch with Jaco Lucas on the fly fishing film tour. And to watch him film topwater hits is like nothing you've ever seen, because he knows when your cast isn't going to work because he's not looking at you, but you can tell he knows when it's going to go down. And, like, he's arguably one of the best in the world.
And he says, I will not miss it. I will get it. If that fish eats it in the next 3 days, I will get him on top water.
Like,
he's so good at what he does.
It's like, hey, man, are you good? He's like, yeah, don't worry about it. I promise. And you can tell when, like, you're doing something right, because, like, the camera will kind of swing. He'll start paying attention. But, like, dude, it's like when I was fishing, it's like insulting and flattery at the same time. It's like we were fishing Saturday and Sunday. We were over at our place in Steenhatchee and fishing for speckled trout and redfish. And we stopped at this one spot. And we're like, all right, this is going to be a good spot. And, like, next thing we know, the dolphin are there. It's like, okay, so we're not going to catch anything because the dolphin are here and they're eating and scaring all the fish off. But at least we came to the right spot. And so then we moved to another spot and got there at the same time the dolphins did. It's like, son of a bitch, man. Like, they ruined our fishing, but they were telling us, hey, you guys, this was the right spot. We're just better than you are. So, but that's kind of, you know, it's great. So, yeah, I'm excited about that. It's going to be a great year. Going on leave. We have a content we call like a smash and grab. We're going to Stephan Brothers Outdoors in South Dakota, February 15th through the 19th to do some ice fishing and pheasant hunting. And I've never been pheasant hunting, and so my first time pheasant hunting will be in South Dakota, which is, or I guess, the world capital. So I'm totally fired up.
Way cool. It's action. Yeah, you'll have fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, good on you, man. You put together such a great team for this project too. You guys have put everything into it.
Yeah.
The right mentors, and then also finding the right hunters, and then being able to grow it and getting the right companies involved too.
Yeah.
So man, it's just a wonderful thing you're putting on there at the hunter recruitment program. And man, I'm a huge supporter. And it's awesome to get you on the podcast and to be able to have a conversation too.
Absolutely.
You've done so much for the podcast. So thanks so much for introducing me to all these guys and helping me get these guests, you know, both on the hunting and the fishing side. Like I say, Paul Bort, you know, I know my way around a fly rod too and have some skill, but you start talking to somebody like that and you realize there are levels to this game, you know, and all I need to do is just shut up and listen, because I'm going to learn something here, you know?
Yeah, because I'll get these texts from him out of the blue. Like, he sent me a text, I think it was yesterday, day before. It's like, Frank Crisatelli, who fishes out of, like, Chelsea Pier up in New York. He's like, there's a striped bass tournament June 6th. We want you to come participate. And I was like, absolutely. It's like, so we'll be catching stripers at the base of the Statue of Liberty. It's like, you can't, like, that's just amazing. You know, it's like
amazing.
Yeah. So, and then he's like, we're going to run off to the canyon to catch, you know, tuna one day. And I was like, I don't know about 90-mile run to catch 6 tuna. He's like, yeah, but it's a contender. I was like, all right, fine, I'm in. So, yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited about this, in 2021. And, like, every year, like, I'm like, I get better at planning what I'm doing. You know, like, I get better at planning my hunts instead of doing things, you know, last minute. And so, yeah, it's going to be a good year.
Yeah, good for you. Well, right on. Well, thank you, sir. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Okay.
All right, guys, that's a wrap. Fun conversation with Baker. That guy's one of a kind. It just cracks me up. But make sure to check out that hunter recruitment program. What a great program for new hunters and getting them the skill set necessary and confidence necessary to go out on their own. I just think it's such a great program and definitely want to show it my support. And thanks to Baker, taking time to be on the podcast, helping with guests, and everything he does for Eastmans and these other outdoor companies. Baker does a lot of things behind the scenes, but he's always positively promoting hunting and shooting and outdoor lifestyle. And he's just a great guy, and I'm glad I know him. So thanks to him for being on the podcast. I also want to thank Swagger Bipods for their continued support of the podcast. They just make such a great bipod that can mount to your rifle. They also have the quick detach I was telling you guys about, so you can keep those in your pack and connect on. They also have a bench-made tripod that's a little bit smaller one, shooting sticks, you name it, all spring tension loaded so you can track your target. Just great products, and we're really happy to have them as a sponsor on the podcast. I also want to thank Mountain Archery Fest. Remember, I got that promo code Elevate21, and it'll get you 20% out at checkout, but just a great way to sharpen your shooting skills before bow season. They have the 4 events this year: Durango, Colorado, Beaver, Utah, Mullen, Idaho, and Huntsville, Utah. So I'll be showing up at that Huntsville, Utah one. Come out and let's rip some arrows. And with that, wrap this thing up. Hoping to maybe be able to bear hunt tonight. We'll see. I've got a pile of work to get done here. So work my way through this pile and see if I can get out for a good afternoon, evening. But I do have my buddy Dan's going to be showing up maybe Wednesday, Thursday, and got some buddies that are showing up next week on Tuesday, I believe. So I've got a few days in my future that should be pretty good. So we'll start getting after these things and hopefully be able to capture some of it, whether that's through IG or through a story or something of that nature. But yeah, go have some fun, go have some laughs with some buddies, and hopefully find some bears and get on some good ones. So it's always fun when hunting season is here, and man, all my skills are sharp, as far as shooting and stalking, and so big bear better not make a mistake. So yeah, it should be fun. Definitely want to help my buddies try to be successful as well. So man, that's where I'm at, waiting for these tag draws to come out. I could say, I'm fortunate in Montana that I get some general season tags, so I know I'll be bow hunting, but the draw odds are getting tougher and tougher. A guy has to work harder and harder to try to come up with these tags year in, year out, or these adventures year in and year out. But there's still a lot of opportunity for adventure out there, and man, hopefully they pull my lucky name out of the hat, or pull one of your guys' lucky name out of the hat. So keep working hard towards your goals. Hunting season will be here before we know it, at least that fall season. And man, it feels so good when you're well prepared for season, walking around with confidence with your weapon, confidence in your skills and in your fitness level. So make those positive moves to put yourself into a position to be successful this season. So really appreciate the support, you guys. Take care, and I'll catch up with you next week.